Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Kirsten and I am the designer and owner of The Creative Cochrane. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a video tutorial on how to use my SVG cut file package for this super cute 3D makeup vanity bench fold card. So let's get right into it. So once you have cut all your pieces out using your Cricut or Silhouette or other cutting machine, this is what you're going to be left with the exception of that little banner there, but I'll talk more about that after. To start, I'm going to be using the largest rectangle we have, which is 5 inches by 10 inches, and this is going to act as the back of our bench fold card. It's scored here, as I'm showing you, in 4 spots. The first score line is at 1 3/4, 3 1/4, then 6 3/4, and 8 1/4. So the first fold, the innermost fold, is going to fold inwards, and then the outer set of folds are going to fold outwards, which kind of creates this U-shaped card, sort of. You'll see in a second. I'm going to turn it on its side, but I'm just folding right along those crease lines, or those score lines, sorry, and creasing them really well with my bone folder. And I'm doing the second side here. As you can see, it's folding outwards. And again, just running my bone folder over that to make sure it's really creased. So this is the kind of shape that we're going to get. And this is what's going to basically allow us to be able to fold our card. So when our card folds down to fit into an envelope, we have a 5 by 7 inch card. So it still fits in a standard size envelope, but we get that really cool pop-up effect. The second piece that I'm going to start with here is this T-shaped piece, which is going to have a score line across that top piece, and this essentially is going to act as our tabletop. Some people like to call this like a bridge card because it bridges the two sides, and I always like to do the base of this card in the same color as the card base so it kind of blends in. And as you can see, it creates sort of a tabletop there. Our third piece here from the base color is actually just kind of like a brace support piece, and you're going to just fold in 2 sides here. This one doesn't even necessarily need to be cut on the Cricut, but I just like to be precise, so I use the Cricut to cut it. And you're going to fold in the 2 sides, and that basically is going to hold up the tabletop and add a little bit more structure to the rest of it. So what I'm showing you here is all the other pieces that I've chosen to cut out of a white cardstock, and these are going to make up our actual vanity bench or vanity desk. So you can see I have a base piece for the desk bottom, as well as a backing for the mirror, the drawer fronts, and a piece for the mirror that I've cut out of a silver reflective paper. I've also got a few more things here, some little goodies that I'll show you how they go together, for a makeup palette and some picture frames and a mirror to go on top of the desk, just to add a little bit more detail to the card. So the next thing that I'm going to do is show you how the desk or the vanity assembles. This should be the exact same size as this bench piece or this brace piece, and the fold line or the score line should line up with the score line of the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carefully bend over the top of our vanity piece and crease that really well with my bone folder. And I always like doing this before I attach them together so I get that really nice crisp line, because sometimes when you're adding 2 pieces of cardstock on top of each other, the crisp fold line doesn't show up. So I'm just going to take my tacky glue here, spread a little bit on all of the pieces that I want to make sure are stuck down. You don't need a ton of glue, but I do want to make sure that the entire thing is stuck down, so at least around the edges and those feet. And I'm going to line that right up along the edges. I do like using a liquid glue for this. I know sometimes there can be issues with wrinkling, but I find if you don't use too much, it's not a big issue. But I do like being able to kind of push it around and move it just a little bit to make sure it's exactly in the right spot. Now this is an extra step that you don't have to do, but I decided to cut out the backing piece around the bottom part of the outside legs, just because I didn't want the wall piece or the pink to be showing. But that's total personal preference. It looks great either way. So now I'm going to glue the tabletop down. And as you can see, there is a little bit of a gap between the white and the pink. That is intentional. Basically, when we open this card up, we want this tabletop to tuck underneath where the mirror is going to be and that's going to hold it in place. So having that little notch where it doesn't match up is perfect for that. You won't see that when the card is done. It's just there to kind of hold everything in place. So next I'm going to take my brace piece and just glue one side on to the score line on the inside of that piece there, and push it down and make sure it's really, really stuck on there before you move on to the next side. Add a little bit more, and then this side is kind of difficult, but you're going to partially close the card, and you can see now that this kind of holds the card open when it's folded out, but also still allows for the card to be folded down. And it holds that tabletop up so none of that sags down. So this is essentially the base of our card. So next I'm going to take the backing piece for our vanity mirror, I guess. And I also have these two kind of detail pieces on either side of the mirror. These aren't necessary to cut out, but I do like adding some dimension, especially when we have a lot of the same color on top of it. For example, the vanity is white on white. So having these mounted on a small piece of foam tape just gives a little bit more dimension to a very monochromatic piece of furniture on our card. And you'll see this, I do the same thing when I add the drawers onto the front of the vanity. I like to add a piece of foam tape just so they pop out a little bit more, and again, add a little bit more depth and dimension. The other really neat thing is if you wanted to use like a gelato or a pastel or something to kind of tarnish the edges of this, it looks really cool because it gives kind of a nice aged effect to it. I've done that in my gumball machine shaker card video. So there you go. That's what those two look like. Again, I think it looks really nice having them kind of pop up a little bit more. Looks a little bit more realistic. So this is the mirror that's going in there. And again, I'm using a couple pieces of foam tape here because again, I kind of want that mirror piece to pop out. You could cut this out in like a plain gray or another color if you wanted, but I did have this kind of reflective silver paper that I really wanted to use for the mirror instead because it looks a little bit more authentic to me. So there's what it's going to look like kind of mounted on the back of the vanity. So then I'm just going to test again, make sure our vanity kind of fits in there nicely. And I'm going to get the tabletop level, and I'm just going to mark really small here with a pencil where the bottom of the tabletop, or where the top of the tabletop meets the back of the card, just so I know where to place my mirror. And again, just a little bit of that tacky glue and sticking that on. And again, you'll see there's a little bit of a gap between that brace and the bottom of the vanity mirror. But that again is just so that the tabletop can click in underneath the mirror. So here we go. That's what that looks like, kind of roughly stuck in, and then you'll see how it tucks in a minute. So again, I'm just going to take a little bit of my tacky glue, and only on the outside pieces. You do not want to get glue on the inner folds of this card, just on the outer pieces. And line it up with the edge and glue it on, and then you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Again, only the outer flap is getting glued. If you glue any of the interior, you're going to have trouble folding your card down. And again, I like using the tacky glue because I can kind of move it around and position it exactly where I want it. I've got a little bit of excess at the top there, but we'll get that wiped off and all cleaned up. I also like to use a bone folder on the backs of it just to make sure that all the lines are really creased and it's really well stuck down there. There you can see I'm wiping off the little bits of glue. So this is what it looks like folded up. It lays flat or folds out to be a full 3D card, which I think is really cute because it can sit on a desk or sit on a vanity even, and kind of be a little bit more of a display piece as well as a greeting card. So next I'm going to move on to attaching the drawers. This is again another super simple step, and it's super easy just to, you could draw these on, or you could just stick the pieces of paper down with a regular double-sided tape or a glue, but the foam I find gives a really nice look to the finished card. Most of the drawers are pretty well exactly the same size, So just be careful when you are gluing them down that those two middle ones are going to be a little bit longer than the outer edge ones. I always like to just place everything together so I know where it's going to be stuck down before I do the final stick down. And you can see already that adding that foam tape gives a really, really nice dimension to those drawers, and it just looks so cute. So I actually have these little gold jewels, or like metallic dome jewels. I'm not sure what else you would call them. But I'm going to use those as little drawer pulls. Again, they are a kind of a 3D item, so they give a little bit more dimension, a little bit more realistic to it, rather than just drawing a knob or a drawer pull on there. And I'm just sticking those right in the middle of the drawer. You could also add like a small piece of cardstock if you wanted to do kind of a pull rather than a knob. That would also look really cute. But I liked the gold of those. I thought it just added to the fancy nature of the card. So I have a few frames here that I cut out. You could do one, or you could do two, you could do none of them. I just thought it would be really cute to have some art on the walls. And now we're getting to all those tiny small pieces I showed you before. So this first piece here, I'm going to fold in half. It's so tiny that I didn't even bother scoring it on my Cricut, just because it's pretty easy to fold on its own. And the grid side, I'm gonna add a little bit of glue and stick this white piece down onto it. And then I'm going to stick this small, tiny little rectangle of reflective paper onto it. And we have our own little makeup vanity. I'm gonna wait until the glue dries and color in those little squares in a few different colors so it looks like an eyeshadow palette. These next pieces are going to assemble to make a like a makeup mirror kind of a thing. So I'm gonna put glue on one of these, I don't know, D-shaped pieces. I don't know what else to call it. And I'm gonna glue two of them together. This is just so they're gonna be a little bit sturdier. This is gonna be the base of, or what's gonna hold the mirror. And I'm just kind of holding those together. I got a little bit of glue on my fingers that I'm trying to get off. But glue those together so we have a double layer. Then I'm going to make a little slit here in the middle of one of those circles. Again, because this is so small, I didn't bother doing it on the Cricut. And then I'm going to fit the bottom of that piece through the circle and then just fold it. This is the base of our mirror, I guess. I know there's a name for it, and I just am not thinking of it right now. Then I'm going to add a little bit of glue onto that, onto the base. And then I have another one of those gray circles. And I'm going to glue that on the bottom there. So it just holds that little, that stand piece in between those two layers. So you can now see that it's pretty much standing upright, which is exactly what I wanted. If you envision kind of like a makeup mirror sitting on a vanity, you would have that base and then the mirror is going to be on top. Doesn't quite look like it yet, but I promise it's coming. And just ignore that other D-shaped piece. I accidentally cut an extra one because I had a little snag on my Cricut when I was cutting it. So this one is my third circle, and I'm going to take this smaller circle, which again I cut out using that reflective silver paper, and I'm just going to glue that right in the middle. And that's going to be the actual mirror portion of the mirror. I feel like I've said mirror a ton during this. And then I'm going to bend the top just a little bit because I want my mirror on a slight angle. And then add a little bit of glue on that top bar only, because that's just where I'm going to have my mirror top. If you can again imagine one in real life, you would kind of have that swivel top that you turn one way and it's more magnified, etc. So I'm going to move these frames, and I'm just going to show you quickly what it looks like sitting on the desk. So there you go. That's in theory what it looks like. It's not glued down yet, so of course it's going to run around all over the place. It's hard to see, but that's what it looks like. And now I'm just skipping ahead to when everything is added on. I added our makeup palette onto the top of the vanity. I also cut a few pieces of paper and folded them to look like a notebook. I cut out a tiny, tiny makeup brush from a really small 6x6 paper pad. I also cut out a small perfume bottle that was from there as well. These 3 framed prints are actually, again, cut out from a pattern cardstock, and I made a little banner up at the top that says, "A little lipstick always helps." I plan on giving this as a Get Better card, so that really fit in with what I was doing. I also bought these small little floral bouquet things from my local dollar store, and in the back corner there I used a bead that looks kind of like a vase, and I stuck some of these in there. So again, those are all totally optional things. Another thing that would be really cute is if you put your sentiment for your card in the frames and said happy birthday in there. Now, the bead here, I'm not mailing my card. That would be a problem if I was mailing it because it would be pretty chunky. So that maybe isn't a great idea for people who are mailing cards, but everything else should fold down perfectly. So as you can see, the card folds down, the mirror will fold back, and then it'll kind of pop back up when you open up the card. And again, it folds down to a 5x7, so it can be fit into a standard size mailing envelope for mail and regular mail. And again, you click it back down and it will rest on the desk. You could write a sentiment on the back before you assemble the card or just underneath it, or you could include a gift card in underneath the table, which is kind of a really cute idea as well. I think these cards are so versatile, and I just love the way that this one turned out, and I think the recipient is just going to love it. If you'd like to purchase my cut file package and make this card yourself, the link is in the description below. It's listed in my Etsy shop. If you'd like to see all my other tutorials and be up to date on all the new items listed on my Etsy shop, you can hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to just see another tutorial right now, you can hit one up in the top right-hand corner there. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.